Trier are ready for battle once more. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to another Medieval 1212 online battle. We are once again in another epic scenario. We have a huge engagement as the archer volleys do kick off already, so we'll just stick it on slow-mo whilst all that lovely stuff does happen, and we'll sit back and take a look at what we've got here today. Also, quickly before we do start the battle, I just want to say, if you guys do enjoy these videos, be sure to go ahead and drop a like and a comment down below. It really does help out the channel, and I appreciate it so much. Also, we're getting ever closer to 120,000 subscribers, which again is just absolutely mind-blowing. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We post battles like this basically every single day, along with campaigns when we get a good mod or a new campaign coming along with DLC or something. So yes, in today's battle we have Trier again. Someone loves to bring the electors of Trier to these online battles, and I mean, they've definitely proven their worth in the previous engagements, because I think they normally come out on top. We also do have the Kingdom of Antioch as well, which I'm not actually too familiar with. I know where Antioch is on the campaign map, but I'm not sure what type of faction this is. I assume it's like a Crusader faction, as it does look like the Jerusalem symbol as well. So I assume they're like a Crusade faction. However, I'm not actually that sure. You know, it rings a bell when someone says the Kingdom of Antioch, but I just can't pin it down. So if you guys let me know in the comments down below, that'd be great. But I assume they're kind of like a crusading faction more than anything else. Then going up against them, we do have the Kingdom of Croatia, which is an interesting one. We don't get to see Croatia too much, and they have a very unique style of infantry, and you know, it's a cool faction to bring along, because as I said, you don't get to see them too often. So when you do, it's always great to see what their men are capable of, because the Croatians can output a ton of damage if they can get their units into the right engagements. And I believe the Croatian knights as well look really clean. Look at that. They look quite similar to the Hungarian knights. Just really elite units, which just have amazing armor and, you know, these huge shields as well. Also, I feel like this type of helmet, even though it doesn't protect your face as much, is probably the easiest to see, especially when you're on horseback. I'm not sure how many knights actually ended up using them, but yeah, I can't imagine trying to like see out of one of these helmets. Must have been absolutely crazy. Then over on the other side, we have the Latin Empire. So again, you can see a lot more of their like royal colors there. Immediately, the cavalry is a lot more fancier than, say, the Croatian knights already, just straight away. And they're going to be having a ton of really interesting infantry. I love these sergeants because they have these huge pike-long spearmen, which really add a lot of flavor to the spear war, allowing them to attack the enemy at range. We also have a bunch of these crossbows as well, these like crossbow militia, and then we have the front line of these Latin knights right here. Well, Latin sergeants, they're not knights. They're overall a really interesting faction as well, with their heavy infantry back here. These guys are a little bit lighter than the Western heavy men-at-arms, but they're still pretty good. It's because they're mercenary men-at-arms, that will be why. But they're going to heavily rely on these knights. These knights are like the hard-hitting hammer of the Latin Empire. So let's just go ahead and kick this battle off, as we do get the forces pushing to get towards one another. We're going to be getting the crossbows of the Latin Empire moving up and probably starting to pick away. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly, for the archers of Trier to fall back, because they decided to bring archers rather than crossbows. And crossbows are obviously much better at dealing the damage, at piercing through armor, whereas the archers have the range. They can kind of pick away at the enemy lines from a distance and kind of chip away at their HP. And they already are doing some, you know, you can see a few casualties already on the ground from the Latin Empire, so they are taking damage, and I imagine the first couple volleys that these archers got on them obviously did play quite a big role. And yeah, as I said, you can already see the formations really start to change from a previous battle. In the last battle these guys played, you saw a lot of really massive cavalry charges. However, in this one already, you see the spear line basically and the sword line guarding these archers right away from any advancement, to, you know, prevent the cavalry from just smashing through the lines. And you definitely see, I can definitely understand why they're using spearmen on the front line and such a big spearmen contingent. However, we are going to be getting a charge from the Knights of Trier, and they're going to be getting a wonderful charge off. Not only is this line too thin and its swordsmen, the Knights managed to catch these guys when they were not braced, and they're going to be going straight through onto the crossbows. God damn, I can't believe this is still happening, just the devastation of the cavalry charges. I mean, look at that, rear charging as well. They just stand no chance. And you guys may think that this is like ridiculously OP that a unit of knights can do this. It's solely because of the scenario they're in. They are literally smashing through thin lines that were not braced. From the front, that unit wasn't braced at that point, so that this cavalry could just smash through them. And there was no cavalry to answer away on the other cavalry charge, and then they got a rear charge in. From the front against spear infantry, it just won't happen. That's why you're seeing spear infantry basically along the board for this side, because, you know, it's just so much more effective at repelling the enemy assaults. And we're going to have the Croatian cavalry falling back. I love the look of them. They just look so awesome. They really do. Like, the dirt, like, on their armor and stuff, it's, like, all scratched up. It just looks so good. But, yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of crossbow fire as the cavalry runs around. I can't believe this cavalry is still here. You know, you need to get more infantry up here. Like, this is the type of line. If cavalry was to charge this thick line in frontally, it just wouldn't do anything whatsoever. And this cavalry movement is just punishing the really thin lines. So something I suggested is it wouldn't be a bad idea to have like a bulky line, and then when you get close to the enemy, just make it longer so that the cavalry engagements can't do this. And yeah, you can see this unit of infantry is just getting cut down by the Antioch Knights. Over on the other side as well, the forces of the Latin Empire did get a nice charge off onto the Elector Men-at-Arms. And these Elector Men-at-Arms are going to get run down by horses. They're not a good like bracing unit whatsoever. They're basically more here for the fact that they're going to like hit the enemy in the side and then do a ton of damage against infantry frontally. But coming up against the heavy cavalry, it's just like non-existent. So more cavalry trying to breach its way forward and get onto these crossbows. Again, like, how does this cavalry always get through? I feel like this, like, after you've played a few of these battles, I think it is obvious that this is going to be how, you know, both parties play, and cancelling this is just a huge part of the game. Now, luckily, you know, one of the interesting things about this strategy is you throw away a lot of your cavalry early on, which may affect you. And if you can be the one who's maybe more on the defensive, if you can deal with these cavalry charges, then that'll give you such a big advantage when you go into the proper fighting of these engagements, because then you can just basically have the cavalry advantage and take advantage of that. The archer engagement over on this right-hand side is still going off as well. And I'm actually going to stick up the music just a little bit because there is some construction work going on outside my house. And let's just go ahead and stick it up just a bit so we can hear the awesome music as well. And I'm sure I would have put in some cool music in there as well. Throughout the beginning and at the end of the video, I like to stick a bit of Medieval 2 music in. Oh, quick note as well on that. They have actually recently said about adding in a music sub-mod into the game, which I assume will replace all the sounds with Medieval 2 sounds. I assume that's the route they'd go to, which is pretty exciting. But as you can see, the Trier archers are focusing down just a couple of these crossbows, and they're getting the job done as we get another cavalry charge. Again, how is this cavalry charge coming in? Not as effective this time, as it was, you know, met by a strong, you know, kind of, I think that was 4 ranks deep infantry, and also hit by cavalry as well, and being hit by crossbows. Yeah, I mean, they lost like 25 men, but the Knights are going to be able to kill a few of these guys as they try and pull out of this battle, along with a crossbow fire. Like, that was worth it right there. They lost 19 men, and they killed over 20 horses. So that's how you want to do it. You want to have thicker lines, and you want to have cavalry immediately countercharge. So if any horses do break through that formation, you can just immediately meet them and fight them as well. And it wouldn't be a bad idea as well to have 2 lines of infantry, like have your front line quite bulky, and, you know, maybe leaving gaps. So, like, have a unit of infantry here and here, and then have, like, a thinner line in between, or something along them lines. The infantry of Antioch are going to be moving up as well. Heavy Knights throwing themselves into position. I feel like on the front line, the Antioch is just a lot heavier than the Croatians, and another cavalry charge coming in. Like, it's just brutal. This cavalry should not be allowed to do this, and they're just running amok in the back lines right now. You know, constant cavalry charging, hitting the missiles, and this is a big hit because, like, taking away your crossbows from these battles really plays a big part. So seeing them go down like this is just crazy. Like, what should happen is this infantry should start turning around now and killing these guys down. Like, you shouldn't allow the Knights just to charge in. You need to rotate your formation and bring them into battle so that these Knights take a lot of damage when they try and pull out of these engagements. But at the moment, it's just not the case. And as you can see, they're still alive. And all this time, the crossbowmen from Antioch are just firing away. I love to see this, that we have the Genoan crossbowmen mercenaries as well. I just think that's really, really cool that we have Genoese crossbowmen who are like mercenaries and have come to fight for this faction. I just think that's really, really cool. Really, really cool. But again, more knights. So finally, we're starting to see some of the knights from Antioch going down. Again, another cavalry charge coming in, trying to find the gaps. However, we do have a halberdier unit coming into this little channel. They're going to be getting a nice little rear charge there, but a lot of the knights are going to be getting caught on the halberdiers as they do push forward. But again, a great little rear charge. Like, stuff like that should be how these battles go down. Like, finding the gaps in the enemy line and exploiting them. Not like frontally charging and getting away with it. You know, that took some, like, skill and outmaneuvering, right, to kind of find this gap, come around and hit it. But when it's just the front-on charges from these super long lines, it just kind of is a bit dumb. And something they could do to prevent this, honestly, in the mod in general, is just add in specific unit whips so you don't get these spaghetti lines as much. You kind of just, because I think DEI literally have just added it into their mod, where they've made it so that units can only stretch so far, or so wide. I imagine militia can stretch further than, say, more professional troops. So if you're going to go for a full line of professional troops, they can only go as long as, you know, the unit will permit them, you know, so many ranks deep, etc. Which I think is actually a really, really good way to balance it. And I actually really love the way that Divide et Impera have created that, because it just adds a lot more flavor to the battlefield. So we're going to get some crossbows being moved up from the Genoese. This has been a long skirmish phase, which I'm not complaining about, as it has been explosive. It's not like we've just been shooting each other. We've been getting the knights moving in and everything like that. However, the Genoese mercenaries are now being brought to the frontier of the fight. They have to be kind of careful, because obviously any cavalry charges coming in could be catastrophic. But it's looking okay. So what I want to also look at is these flanks, because these flanks are normally such pivotal moments in the battle, because if one side starts to crumble, then everyone starts to jump and pounce through the gaps. So on this side, we do have the Pavese Spearmen of Croatia, and they're going to be behind them. We're going to have some of the, just more Pavese. They're behind them. We're going to have some of the halberdiers, which is interesting. And then on the Antioch side, we have some spear sergeants behind them, more spear sergeants, and then dismounted knights with a unit of cavalry. So yeah, again, it's going to be interesting to see how this one does play out. And this is kind of the formation I was talking about to repel cavalry, is have these blocks of infantry, and then behind them have like more support infantry to blockade the gaps. I think that's like a really nice way. You could also go for the famous Roman formation as well, the whatever it's called. I can't actually remember, but you could definitely go for that as well. As we're getting more cavalry coming in. Oh no, these mercenary halberdiers were not braced, no. So the cavalry's going to rip through them. These guys weren't in their phalanx, no. And now the cavalry's going to get around. We are going to quickly get the Prince of Antioch charging in though. God damn, he only has 50 men in his unit. And at least that was a little bit of a reaction right there. Seeing the Antioch men turn round to at least face the enemy so they don't take that rear charge. And I think that's something that these players need to do more of, is just, you know, turn around to at least face them. It doesn't leave their brace, but at least they'll be ready to take them. And there we go, another wonderful charge here by the Croatians coming in to support. Finally, these guys are now going into their Italian mercenary formation. However, the cavalry out here is just running amok once again, as it does harass these spearmen and hit them hard. You can see the elected levy spearmen are going down. I think this is one of the really good strategies from Trier. They normally have a really like thin front line of these weak spearmen, and then all of a sudden they'll bring up these really, really good like heavy infantry which have been waiting behind them. Because it seems like the levy spearmen aren't actually that bad. We're only getting the cavalry charge coming into the back of the Genoese crossbowmen. And you can see these great, oh wow though, the Antioch is going to come in to try and finish them off. Yeah, I think, I'm doubling down on my theory that Antioch is a Crusader faction. Like, I'm like 80% sure that's the case. Even more so because you have a bunch of these shields, like Croatian, French, English shields. So, yeah, I'm doubling down on that theory. My medieval history isn't as solid as, say, my ancient history. But I definitely get better and better at learning. And if you guys want to, you know, educate me nicely in the comments down below, I'm always happy to read the comments to find out more information. But yeah, taking a look at the overall battlefield now, that kind of the skirmish phase is starting to wind down. We can see, at least cavalry-wise, the Croatians and the Latin Empire have a couple horsemen left. This little block of horses is going to be very, very useful. And over on the other side, we have a few, yeah, we have probably equal cavalry on either side. Maybe the Latin Empire have a little bit more, because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the Antioch and Trier have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so actually, I take that back. It looks like Trier and Antioch actually have more horsemen still left, which is surprising because it feels like Antioch was the one causing the most damage from these cavalry charges. But maybe they just brought more horses to the battlefield. Again, we're back and forth as we get another brutal cavalry charge. The first 10 minutes of this replay have literally just been like cavalry charge after cavalry charge. But hey, I'm not complaining. These frontal engagements are awesome. They really, really are. And as I said, it'll be very interesting to see how players really deal with this. Again, like this infantry unit should be turning around, stopping this unit from getting into combat, as we do get a Croatian cavalry charge right there, pulling out their maces and just taking these guys down as they try and flee. No prisoners indeed. Great. This is what you want to kind of do, because you want to catch these guys. And then there's nowhere for this Antioch cavalry to go. They're literally completely surrounded. They just want to keep them in bay. I mean, I guess they also want to try and break through and use the advantage that the Antioch cavalry is all the way over here and it's getting slaughtered. But yeah, frontal charge that was pretty effective. The line's just far too thin, man. And they're getting punished because of it. Look at all this infantry just dying to heavy horse. I mean, it's not a bad strategy, honestly, just to keep on hitting it. But as I said, obviously, it's going to cause you some issues. But, I mean, just look at the devastation in the battle line right now. There are so many gaps appearing. This one just buckling under the archer fire, or the crossbow fire. Over on the other side as well, over on Trier's side, again, they're still just having this pretty big missile off right now, as the archers are focusing down. It seems like Trier have won this archer off, though, or missile off, I should say. But it doesn't look like there's a large amount of crossbows left for the Latin Empire. That could just be solely because they've used a lot of their dudes elsewhere. You know, they've kind of committed a couple units of these crossbowmen over here to help with the cavalry engagements as both sides do get closer and closer. But yeah, I mean, as I said, look at this huge gap appearing in these battle lines. You know, it's going to immediately get fixed by the Trier player. He's going to throw in his infantry here to kind of cave in this gap. But again, over on the other side as well, these are thin lines that infantry can find their way through when the battle does kick off. And I imagine the infantry lines are going to be prepared to clash, as there's not a lot of cavalry left on either side really anymore after that big explosive battle. We do get another big cavalry charge right here into the side of the infantry, but these are a little bit heavier knights. These are the dismounted knights of Antioch, so they're a little bit stronger, and as you can see, a couple horses going down now as well in this fight. And the cavalry is actually routing now. So if we do it again now, because I imagine the infantry fight's about to kick off. If we take a look at the knights, we count them up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish. Like probably 5 and a little bit of cavalry left over on the red side. And then over on the blue-yellow side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses. So again, it's actually pretty even overall. And I imagine there's some cavalry with, you know, fewer numbers than their opponents. The crossbows as well. Like, look at this gap right here appearing. Oh, wow, look at this as well. We're getting crossbow fire into the back of these knights. This is just a miss micro, unfortunately, from the Croatian player. No shame in that. And he quickly does realise and gets them the hell out of there, because getting shot in the back by crossbows is not going to be good at all. You definitely do not want that to have happen to your cavalry, especially when it's so valuable. The crossbows are doing a lot of damage, and this might preempt Croatia to throw in their Croatian communal nobles into battle. And we also are getting the charge forward by the electors of Trier. They have seen the weakness in the Latin Empire's lines, and they're going to be looking to exploit that. We actually do have a small infantry engagement right here, as the halberds do charge forward, but as soon as we take a look, they do retreat. And this is not a bad idea. Like, when your lines are this close and you have this many units, throwing a couple infantry in to fight the enemy is not actually as bad as it may seem, because the enemy can't really exploit that. As we get in these huge engagements now, the enemy can't really exploit the front lines, because if they do, they're going to leave themselves really vulnerable, because these battles are so wide. You can't really envelop the enemy, because you're already going from one side of the battlefield to another. So, as I said, like, it's very hard to exploit, like you basically surround the enemy position, because if you do that, you yourself are going to get enveloped by the reinforcements and the lines which are simply waiting off. So actually throwing in infantry, you know, bit by bit, like kind of more like quadrant by quadrant, isn't actually awful, because you know, you can get some really heavy infantry into the fight. Oh, we're going to be getting a big cavalry charge off here as well. Oh, wow, look at this. The Latin Empire managed to get round the back of the army of Trier and rear charge them. I mean, they're immediately going to get charged themselves by the heavy cavalry of the electors of the HRE. But even still, that rear charge must have caused some damage. And also, the Elector Cavalry is also being hit by the Spearmen who have engaged in this frontal defense. So it's not like the Latin Empire isn't going to be able to repel this cavalry too easily. The fighting is horrific now, though, on the front lines as both sides really collide in. We have some cavalry exploiting the gap, but once again, they're going to be jumped on by the enemy horsemen, and they're going to be trying to stop that rear charge from coming off, doing an amazing job. It doesn't look like Antioch wants to engage quite yet, but we are going to be getting Croatia throwing forward their Pavese spearmen in their dense formations, with the Croatian halberds also coming in as well to support. The men of Antioch, though, are going to be trying to hold their line as best as they can. I always love to do this. I mean, just look at these battle lines advancing in. How cool is that, man? You just don't get to see too many engagements where you just see these huge battle lines clashing at all different times. Nothing's in sync. It makes it feel like a proper battle. And look at this. The Croatians have just done a great job of surrounding the Antioch infantry. And what they need to have happen now, the rest of the Croatian line needs to charge forward, engage to make this worth it, really. And again, we're getting more infantry coming around the side. Antioch have plenty of spearmen. They could easily commit to this engagement if they wanted to prevent this. Oh yeah, and this unit of Croatian nobles is also getting pounded by missile fire right now. They need to do something. Again, if we go down the battle line, we're seeing a few engagements of lesser disciplined infantry as they charge in against the rest of the Antioch infantry right here. Yes, 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 you can see them fighting very, very hard on that front line. More of the Genoese crossbowmen as well, maneuvering around. Oh, here we go, the Latin general's bodyguard moving around. However, we do have the the Archbishop Elector of Trier going to be charging and actually getting a perfect. No, he goes out the last second. Why does he do that? Oh, because his infantry just broke. Wow. As you can see down the entire front line of Trier, the men are routing. The Latin Empire are holding firm and pushing back Trier's men right back to Germany whence they came. Wow, this is not looking good for them whatsoever. They have to be hoping that they'll be doing a better job over on the flanks, because if they don't, wow, it will just spell disaster for Trier. It really, really will, as all the men are just fighting so hard to make any break for him. I mean, just look at that as well. That looks goddamn insane. I love the Latin Empire shields as well. They always look really, really cool. Always a big fan of them. Oh, who died? Who died? Who died? Let me know. Oh, over here? So who is this? Is this the Croatian general? No, it's the Latin Empire general. Actually ended up getting caught by Trier. Even though they had some mercenary men-at-arms right by them, along with the sergeants. That could definitely turn the tide of this battle right now. If we take a look from the bird's eye view, we can see that even though that they have lost their general, the men of the Latin Empire are still fighting on bravely, looking to get some really nice surrounds off onto the men of Trier, surrounding them at every single turn. Yeah, Trier just do not have the quantity right now to repel these surrounders. There's just too many gaps appearing. And we're going to have to rely on the forces of Antioch to really come forward. Their infantry line has now clashed. I love the look of Antioch, saying that, you know, I don't really know, as I said, like 100% what they are about. Again, I know what Antioch is. Again, but with the look of their units, I can only assume that they are a Crusader faction. They do look very, very cool, though. Very, very cool indeed. The infantry line is starting to dwindle for Croatia. We got both men very, very close to going down. The swords going in, cutting down a large portion of the Croatians. How are they doing on this right flank? Maybe they're starting to drop on this right flank. I mean, just the sheer weight of numbers, I think, is playing a huge role in this battle. And there you go, their men are routing on this right flank. So they're going to be able to just basically run through, envelop what remains right here. I'm super surprised. I thought the Croatian spearmen would be able to hold this flank, but I guess not. You even have some crossbowmen going around. And yeah, the entire Croatian battle line has just completely broken. Look at that. Wow. I did not expect the Croatians to break back quickly. Over here, over on the tray size, we can see that the Latin Empire are enveloping them and kind of doing what's happening on the other side. Well, actually, not necessarily. I feel like the Croatians just straight up got bashed to death, whereas Trier have kind of been enveloped and surrounded. So it's going to be up to Antioch to reform as quickly as possible and come to the aid of their ally, because if they do not, it seems that dire straits for Trier. They will be fighting as bravely as they can, though, to buy as much time for Antioch to arrive. But as you can, because the players play with these huge battlefields, you know, it's going to be a while until they can rotate around. And it'll actually be quite a while until the forces of Antioch can make their way around. So it's really about killing off, you know, Trier holding as long as possible. But for the Latin Empire, it's about killing as many of them as possible, as quickly as possible. Because it's only going to be a matter of time until Antioch does turn up. And as you can see, if we look at the balance of power, you can see Antioch have over 4,000 men still left remaining, whereas the Latin Empire has 2,300. That's really not going to be enough, I don't think. However, as you can see, there's a large amount. Oh, these guys are forming marching column. That is so cool. They're going to form marching column and then march their way over to the battle. That is just so awesome, man. Look at that. Wow. It's stuff like this which I absolutely love in these battles, because it just makes it feel like a proper battle, right? Where you have these formations all set up and, you know, the players are just, you know, charging forward, have their own sort of feel, and that just looks amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. That really is. Sorry if I'm missing any part of the battle, but hey, this is worth it right here. The marching column is ready, and I imagine it will be going over here as soon as it can. We also got some more infantry, so like, because these guys are kind of in the combat area if they're forming up, and then these guys are going to come over. At least I hope they do. I hope they don't just sit off into the corner and not do anything whatsoever. But the Latin Empire is still fighting against Trier. So Trier have done their job at holding off for as long as possible. You know, they didn't give up lightly. They didn't get taken out. And these Italian... Oh, these aren't even Italian halberdiers. These are just the normal Latin Empire halberdiers. Well, either way, these guys have done a great job. I mean, how many kills are they on right now? Yeah, almost 200 kills as they just dispatch these knights. I mean, halberdiers from the front are just very, very hard to kill. Almost impenetrable. They've kind of formed the Swiss pike block right here, which is, you know, so famous. Again, the infantry lines have simply formed up, and there we go. The marching column is on its way. That just looks so goddamn cool. I mean, just look at that. Oh, with the Genoese units as well. That looks awesome, man. Oh my god. Bloody beautiful. I am one for the theatrics like this. I'm sure you guys like it as well when stuff like this happens. Because I used to do this when I was a kid playing Rome Total War. I used to do this stuff all the time. You know, just really go ahead and, you know, just kind of make it really, really... Like, whenever I used to win a battle, I used to march my men down the streets. Even back when I was... when Rome 1 had just come out and I was much younger, I used to... Whenever I used to take a city, I used to then march my general through the city, through the streets, and I have the men line up. I'm sure I'm not the only one who did that. I'm sure some of you guys did that as well. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys did. I'd be interested to see. So take a look at the general right now as well. The Archbishop Elector of Trier is pretty low, and I'm not sure if he wants to be the one charging in, because if he goes down, that could I mean, actually, he has no men left. It's Antioch's general, which is really, really important, and they're all the way over on that left hand side. But here we go, the forces are going to be going down, and look how cool that looks right there. So we have this battle, which kind of match for numbers, and then we have this marching column, which is going to make its way around the side. We are going to be getting a cavalry charge here, and again, the thin lines have just been the bane of this battle, as once again this cavalry just charges through and then immediately gets another charge off onto the side of this infantry. And the Latin Empire simply just do not have the men to really, really deal with this. You got more halberdiers moving up as well, men at arms. The rest of the infantry is just simply going around. I don't think this marching column is really going to even get involved in the battle, because by the looks of it, there's only 2 minutes left, so I assume this bulk of infantry just really take care of the enemy and finish this battle up. I mean, it's already obvious that Antioch is going to claim victory here with the help of Trier. But again, what an amazing battle We have these, you know, awesome lines, explosive cavalry engagements. I wouldn't be surprised if I said, like I said in the last one, if in the next battle we see, you know, more ways to counter these cavalry engagements, because they just seem so goddamn strong that you know, they need to be answered. And I'm sure we will start to see players doing better stuff, whether it's having cavalry a lot closer to the battle line to counter them in the kind of plain fields. Thicker battle lines, maybe a lot more spear infantry on the front line, because I think the spear infantry does do a much better job at repelling cavalry, obviously, in their formations. And then this marching column, yeah, this marching column is not going to get involved whatsoever. We do have a pretty big brawl, though. A lot of men-at-arms fighting away against the knights. However, as I said, I think we're just going to get rear charges, and that's just going to break the last stand of the Latin Empire, as, you know, they just don't have the men in this battle. And again, I think it was just, I mean, necessarily it actually wasn't down to the cavalry engagements as much as you may think. I think that Antioch heavy infantry just outclassed the Croatians, and they didn't really stand a chance to maybe have it be a cavalry charge coming in. I'm sure it's going to rout the enemy. There's only only 18 seconds left of this battle. Is basically over. The Trier general, no, the Antioch general, the prince, is going down, and then there you go. Everyone just routs. Oh no, but the Antioch general dying right at the end. This is a crazy battle. Yeah, look at that. Antioch only lost 2,100 men. That is crazy. Whereas you look, Trier lost 5,000, the Latin Empire and Croatia losing a lot more. So taking a look at the kills, as always, the cavalry doing beyond amazing. 420 kills on this unit. They're obviously going to go and blaze it after the battle. 200 on the Prince of Antioch as well. Oh my god, I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. This unit of Trier got 890 kills. That actually makes me sick. And this general as well, getting over 600. That is disgusting that this cavalry could do that much damage. It really was. But again, it was down to the way the battle was set up. The thin lines just allow cavalry to do this. And if you don't want that to happen, you have to have these more thicker lines. So it'd be interesting, as I said, to see if one side decides to go for really thick lines and the other goes for really, really spaghetti long lines. And they can see what really comes out on top. Because I have a feeling that these big blocks of infantry would definitely beat the overwhelming length of the enemy forces, because they can just break through and split the enemy in half quite effectively. So I hope that they do try and implement something like that in future battles. Over on the Latin Empire, we can see 300 kills and 200 kills. Oh, this one getting over 700 as well. Wow. So many kills on the heavy knights. That is insane. And then finally the Croatians as well. A couple hundred kills. The Croatian cavalry just could not do as much as these guys did. It's 900 kills and 700 kills. It's just absolutely insane. This does make me actually a little bit nervous for the campaign when you're fighting the AI. If your heavy knights can just do this, then I feel like the AI is going to need some buffing to prevent that from happening, because you'll just you'll slaughter the AI. The AI is so stupid that you're just going to cut it down, and it's just not going to do much. But we'll see. You know, obviously the campaign is still a little way away, but I'm sure they'll balance stuff like this out. I think this is fine for multiplayer, because multiplayer, you know, you can prevent this from happening by having thicker lines and having, you know, other answers to it, whereas if the AI doesn't really know. So I'd hate to have the situation where you're simply just cutting the AI down with like one unit of heavy cavalry. Now granted, this is late period cavalry, so you won't be getting these guys until the first couple hundred years of the campaign, so it'll be a while for sure, but even still, you know, it would be interesting to see what goes down. But anyway, yes, hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. Make sure to drop a like and a comment down below if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification, and I'll see you guys in the next one.